Okay, we should be good now.
I can hear you brilliantly.
Okay, buddy, sounds good. How you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. You are the man who
Good.
taught me how to play guitar.
Is that right? Really? You learned from me, did you?
Absolutely, all the way from day one right through to now. I still follow you, and I learned to play guitar. And I know many of my friends have learned to play guitar via you. It's so much easier, so much more comfortable.
Well, you know what? But I'll tell you, I like to keep it simple, right? Because the way I look at it, everybody, if you lined up, I always say the same thing, right? And I don't know if you want to get into questions or whatever just yet, but I always say the same thing. If you lined 100 people up and you ask them randomly, if I could teach you 5 or 6 chords in 30 songs, would you say yes? I don't think you'd get a person that would say no. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. It's your passion, Marty. It's the way you come across. It's you make it so enjoyable. You come across as such a friendly, outgoing guy. You make it easy, and it's easy to sing along with you.
I really, I appreciate that. I'll tell you, I model it that way, and it's funny. It's not an act, my man. Like I just really, really enjoy playing music. I always have. I've been doing it for 35 years. I've done it professionally, but still, just sitting in a basement jamming with a couple of friends, or sitting in a kitchen, wherever you want to play, is still my favorite thing to do. And in fact, that's how I learned. Right? Basically fumbling along, playing with guys that knew what they were doing and sitting in somebody's kitchen or sitting in somebody's room now. And that's a big thing now that's a big thing. Kitchen parties. I don't know if you know what that is or not.
Yeah, probably something similar to what we have here when we have a sort of an empty meal get together, and we all sort of
Yes,
friends, family, and we all.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we do. We hang out in the kitchen, right? Congregate, have some drinks and play music. It's still my favorite thing to do. So, I'm glad it comes across that way because really it's the most honest thing that I do, my friend.
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, you've got some guitar collection as well.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I'm trying to figure out a way. I actually have like 14 or 15. I lost count.
Whoa.
14 or 15 stringed instruments, right? I dabble in, I dabble electric, obviously acoustic, but I got a really cool little 6-string banjo. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos on that. I dabble with the mandolin and
I've seen you
stuff,
on
and
your
that.
banjo. It's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. It's a 6-string banjo, so it actually sounds like a banjo, but plays like a guitar. Some people guitar. It's an awful lot of fun to throw in the mix when you're playing around, right?
Yeah, it looks fun. It sounds amazing. They sound fantastic.
Oh yeah, they're really. It's a really neat little instrument. Yeah, they all have different stories. Some guitars I've owned for 35 years. Others I've owned for 20 years, 15 years, and they all come with a little story. So that'll be another podcast. But yeah, no, I love each and every one of them for different reasons, right?
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, the Gibson acoustic is absolutely. I mean, the sound of it is amazing, but the way you play it and the way you're so happy, it just. I mean, for me, learning to play guitar, it was a
Mm-hmm.
breeze with you, an absolute breeze. I picked it up, and I didn't feel like I was under pressure. I was able just to go along at my own pace, and I enjoyed it because I spoke to a friend who's a teacher, and the teacher made him feel so like he didn't want to play anymore. Whereas I said,
Right.
look, check out Party Marty on YouTube and just play
Yeah.
along with him. And he just sings along, and you can stop and pause and go back, and it's just been an
Absolutely.
absolute breeze for me.
Well, that's the thing, and the big thing about that is too. I always made it a point, and I still do, is to play the song all the way through. Because in essence, what happens is when you learn the chords and you learn the style that you're going to use, then really you and I are jamming together for that whole song. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
It's amazing.
and that's yeah, that's kind of how I learned songs. As you know, have choruses, they have bridges, they have different things, right? So if you only teach a part of the song, then you really don't get the essence of the whole tune. And a lot of times I kind of do my own thing, and I've been very fortunate with my YouTube followers there that people kind of allow me to do that. You know what I mean? You get some naysayers sometimes that want to hear it exactly like the song and stuff. Well, my voice is naturally lower. So a lot of times I'll transpose the chords down a little bit, and it was a byproduct, but it ended up helping a lot of people because a lot of people have the same issue that I do, a low voice, right? We can't all be Celine Dion, you know what I mean?
No chance. I don't even try, Marty.
Yeah. I do. I try to get up there, but I always end up friggin' making an excuse for it. Oh, I tried, or like it's too high for my voice or whatever. But you know what? I've been doing it a lot of years. There's ways around that stuff. But the main thing is playing music. I mean, all I can tell people out there, and I'm so glad everybody's following. Like it's been overwhelming. it was, you know, just it was me. It was a suggestion when I did the YouTube channel. Suggesting my 10-year-old kid, you put a video up and see what happens, Dad. And sure enough, you get 7 views in a week or something. You think, holy smokes, there's people out there watching. You put another video up, and now here we are, 5, 6 years, 110,000 subscribers, 24, 25 million views. I mean, it's ridiculous, you know, and it's wonderfully ridiculous, I guess is what I should be saying. And I'm very thankful, and all the great comments and stuff. And I can't thank enough of the YouTube Nation out there that checking out my videos there, and to hear somebody like you saying that you're actually learning from my videos, and you and your friends are playing. That's the thanks, man. That's one of those things that keeps me going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, I just learned Ed Sheeran off you, you know, and it was just
Oh, right on.
when I was trying to learn it before that, it was all these other YouTube with barcodes and all this. And I just can't do it
Yeah.
because I've got problems with my fingers are slightly
Right.
damaged, and I can't bend the tips of my fingers. I can't actually bend. So playing
Right.
barcodes is really hard for me. So everything
Mhm.
pretty much has to be in open chords. And I just I can remember the day I stumbled on your video, and I can't remember what it was, and I thought, oh, easy chords, I'll try that. And that was it. And it brought the joy back to playing. Suddenly I
Oh,
enjoyed
man.
playing the guitar again, because I'd put my guitar down and I thought, "Oh, it's just not for me. It's you have to do all this, do all that." And I just by absolute accident come across your video, and I thought, yeah, man, ever since then I've grew from strength to strength, you know. And you've gave me the love of music back, the love of wanting to play my guitar. It's no longer a chore. I actually
Mhm.
really enjoy it, and I like getting it out, and I'm not frightened to try anything, Matty. So it's all down to you.
Absolutely. That's great. You know, I really appreciate that. That's the best compliment you can give, man. I mean, it's all about playing music and loving it. Do you know what I mean? That's basically, it's not about money. It's not about, I mean, all that stuff is wonderful, but really, if you're sitting down and you're telling me like you almost gave up, and now all of a sudden the joy brought back into music. I mean, that's what music's all about, right? Bringing joy to people, bringing fun to people, bringing smiles to people. So I can't say, you know, I mean, I thank you very much for your compliments, and I'm really, really glad you're having fun with it, you know, and you're obviously spreading the word. So it's great. It
Oh,
really touches me, right? When I hear stories like yours, and you know what, you know, I hear people 65, 70, 75 years old writing to me, telling me that they learned a song from me, and now they're playing it at their 60th anniversary. I hear kids that are 12 years old wanting to know what kind of guitars I suggest. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
yeah.
kids that are 10 years old learning. There's everybody in between 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, female, male. It's fantastic. It really is how it's touched a lot of people. And you know what? I want to keep it easy. So there's a lot of people, you know, to learn the guitar the proper way. And when I say proper way, what I mean is learning every note on the neck and go, you
Yeah.
know, and everything else, and with all the bar chords and different things. I mean, that's wonderful. And I use it when you see me in a show, you'll often see me use bar chords. But for this particular channel, what I wanted to do was reach as many people with as little interest as possible. Do you know what I mean? So even if they had
Yeah.
a 10% interest all the way up to 100% interest, what I wanted to do was reach out to that person. Everybody, you know, a lot of guitar players want to play like Keith Richards, right? They want to play like Ronnie Wood, but I'm going to tell you something. It takes a lot of time to do that. And that's great, man.
Yeah.
If you've got the time to put it in, I think it's wonderful. But I think for everybody else, you know, if you can make it easy, especially you with a physical difficulty, right, where you can't play bar chords and stuff, if you can make it a little easier for somebody and then they get smiles out of it and joy out of it, what's better than that, man? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, there's nothing better than that to me. You know, you can sit around with your buddies or go to an open mic, play in a cafe, do whatever you want. I mean, I'll tell you, those versions of the songs that I do, I make them easy, but a lot of those songs, like, a lot of the songs I will put in my shows, and I don't really vary from a lot of the styles, the ways that I play, right? And it definitely does the job every time, and people enjoy themselves. So, you know, I can't be happier that there's guys like they're out there, and you know, I really appreciate you having me on your show as well. I mean, this is a first for me, and you know, you're making it very good. You're very good at what you do as well. You make it very comfortable for me. So, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, Matt. I mean, I have had so many people messaging me saying, you know, because we have a group as well, a special group that's just people learning guitars, and they post little videos and that of them learning and the progress, and they all know who you are, and they're all saying, "Oh, you need to get Patty Matty on. You need to get Patty Matty on."
Yeah,
And
man.
I said, "I know, but how do I reach out to them?" I thought, "I'll just go to his YouTube channel and I'll be cheeky and I'll just leave a message, because you
Yeah.
always responded to as many as you can. I see you respond." I thought, you know, if you don't ask, you don't get, as my old granny used to say.
That's right, absolutely. And you know what? I'm enjoying this. I'll tell you, I'm enjoying this quite a bit, actually. You know what? It's again, it's always like you read the comments, but you never actually talk to the person on the other end that's being helped by the channel, right? So you know what? The fact that you have this platform and you're telling me your story is pretty cool. It's pretty rewarding for me.
Well, my 15-year-old boy, he started guitar at 14, and he's just learning now, and he just sits and watches you all the time, and he's just done "Wish You Were Here." Last night he was practicing "Wish You Were Here," so
Awesome.
he sits with you on his tablet and that in the bedroom, you know, and he's no plans to be a musician. He just wants to learn to play guitar. And I said, "Look, follow this, have a look at this," and he did, and he's just it's there's no pressure on you. There's no You
Yeah,
don't feel like, you know, you can just go along with the flow and relax, and take your time, and sing along with you, you know. And "Wish You Were Here" is a
absolutely.
great song.
Absolutely, man. That's what it's all about. And you know what? At 15, I'll tell you something right now. And you can learn guitar. That's the beauty of guitar, man. You can learn guitar all the way up through however old you get. But at 15, if he's taking an interest now, God knows where he'll end up with that instrument in 10 or 15 years, right?
That's what I said. I said he's loving it. You know, he's got a wee acoustic, nothing fancy. He sits there playing with it, and he watched a video about guitar care. I came in, I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm watching a guitar care, how to look after my acoustic." You know, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, he's now made it his own little guitar, and he just sits there with you one all the time. And "Wish You Were Here," he really liked it, so he wanted to learn to play it. He found you had the video for it, and he just sat there last night. I mean, within an hour, he sounded, I have to say, he sounded bang on, pretty good, better than me.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. You
He's
know
got
what?
a
It's
better
funny
voice,
this
Matt.
with this darn pandemic. I mean, it's really turned a lot of lives upside down. But I'll tell you, if there's any positive that's come out of it, and I know it's tough to grab a positive out of something so awful. But my son, he's a big time athlete, plays a lot of different sports and things like that. Well, they've been grounded because of all that stuff, and he decided. Party Marty as a dad. I mean, when he was 8 or 9 years old, I taught him maybe a half a dozen chords type thing, but it was one of those things I didn't want to push it on him. Do you know what I mean? I wanted him to kind of come to me, and then sure enough, during the pandemic, he started picking it up and tinkering around with it. And I have to say, he has come leaps and bounds in the last year and a half. So he's really, really doing well. Quite impressive. He's gone down a different road now. He is the guy that wants to learn all the notes on the board, and
Yeah.
wants. I mean, him and I, it works so perfect for me because I've always been a rhythm guitarist, right? I've always been a quarter. So with him playing lead and me playing chord, I can see something special coming here in the next couple of years. So yeah,
Wow.
it's very touching and very cool. And I'll be walking down the hall and he'll be playing. Next thing you know, I mean, he's like, his room looks like my studio downstairs, right? He's got guitars on the wall now and stuff. So it's never hard to get to one. We have guitars in every room in our house, right? So that's always one of those things. I always, if I get some kind of a muse or some kind of an idea, I'm always close to a guitar, right? So that's kind of why I have as many as I do. But yeah, so I walk down the hall there and he's playing. I'll just grab one off the wall and just kick in and start playing with him, and it's beautiful, man. It really, really is. It's one of my absolute favorite things to do.
You need to get some merchandise. You need to get some little T-shirts and that, Marty, because we're bound to see like a T-shirt with "I Party with Marty."
You know what? On YouTube there's a T that I do have some designs set up on Teespring there. They usually flash underneath the videos, right? But if you
Yeah.
give me your address, man, I'll send you something special. I guess I've got some private merch here that I have, and I only printed off so many of them, right? But for you being my first podcast there, I'm going to send you something special. So
Oh,
just
Marty, that'd be amazing, because that's it. You're
no
my hero
problem,
right now.
man.
You're my absolute hero. I mean, Marty, what's your favourite song to play? Which one really you think? Yeah,
Are
I
you
like
talking
Copper.
about crowd pleaser, or are you talking about Party Marty pleaser?
Patty, Marty, which one pleases you? Because I like, is it Copper Town Road, whatever it's called by?
Copperhead Roads are really
Oh,
cool
I
too.
love
Yeah,
that. And I'm
yeah,
drop you.
that's a great song.
Oh, I
That's a
love
great
that song.
song. You know what, man? I go back even older than that. Like I play a tune. It's called "To Love Somebody." Believe it or not, you're gonna laugh at me. Believe it or not, it's a Bee Gees tune. It's called "To Love Somebody," but the way I play it, I kind of got my idea from a guy by the name of Ray LaMontagne. You've obviously heard of Ray LaMontagne.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Um, and the way him and Damien Rice did that song just did something for me, right? So I play that one. That's one of my favorite tunes to play. And it's funny because when I play an acoustic set, just myself, they're not expecting a song like that, out of me. So it always kind of turns heads. But that's a cool one. And you know what? There's been a few renditions, but I'm a real big fan of the Eagles. I love Peaceful Easy Feeling. That's a great song.
That's my favorite
right?
song.
Yeah, I love that tune, right? Anything by the Eagles, really. But Peaceful Easy Feeling, a lot of people really toe tap to that one. They really sing to that one. You always hit home with that one, right?
That's
And
a
then, I mean,
beautiful song.
obviously, your countrymen, right? The Beatles, right? I love playing the Beatles. I love playing the Stones, right? Honky Tonk Woman always goes over huge when you play that one, right? So yeah, it's funny. I have people ask me for set lists all the time, right? Different things that I do. But you know what? It's funny, and it's what I've always done too. Like when I walk on stage, when I was playing professional, when I walk on stage, when you're playing a pub or something, for instance, I never really had a set list. I always just kind of looked around the room and let people decide what I was going to play, type thing, right? So name me a band, type thing. I've always been lucky enough that my volume of music has been that large that I can do that. And it's more about reading the room. So if you've got slightly older people, right, then maybe I'll stick with Johnny Cash, Elvis, stuff like that. If the room's a little younger, right, then
Yeah.
you kind of go with the Eagles and that kind of thing, right? Or maybe it's country folk, maybe it's this. So I've always been able to read a room, and I've never been one to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to play these 15 songs whether you like it or not, and then walk off the stage. I always like playing things that people want to hear. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Cocaine Blues. That's Cocaine Blues. I love that by Johnny Cash. That's a great. It is. It's a great song and a great little story, and I like the end of it. It's a brilliant little warning.
Absolutely, yeah. If you've watched that movie, the Johnny Cash documentary, there, or whatever, or the one, was it Phoenix? There, what's his name? Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk the
He
line.
does that really well. That Cocaine
Is
Blues
it
song.
brilliant?
Very, very cool. Yeah, for sure, man. So I'm really, like I say, I can't thank you enough, buddy. This has been really, really cool, and I'm really, really happy. I do want to show a couple of shout outs. Obviously, my wife and kids, I mean, they've been nothing but supportive. I mean, through all of this, right? It's taken up some of my time, as you well know, with
Yeah.
stuff like this. But at the end of the day, they know it's a passion, and they know I enjoy it every time I get in the studio. I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy store, right? What am I going to play today? So it's really good. I wish I had more time for it, actually, but like I say, and you were mentioning comments and stuff like that. Like, I read every comment. I try to get back as best I can. I'm well behind on that kind of stuff, but when you reached out to me, I'm glad you did, because obviously this might be something that we can do every now and then. What do you think?
It'd be brilliant. I would really like that. There is one thing I like. Have you heard of a band called the Proclaimers from
Oh
Scotland?
yeah, I
Have you
believe
heard
I
of a
have.
song?
Yes.
Have you heard of Sunshine on the Leaf
Sunshine on the Leaf. I don't
by the
know if I know
Proclaimers?
that song, but it's a great
Uh,
tune, is it?
yeah, Patty, I highly recommend it because I want to learn how to play it.
I'll put it on the possible. That's what I always say. I'll put it on the possible project list. No, I'll give it a listen, buddy, and see
It's
what
a
I can do
brilliant.
with it there. Yeah, I'll probably be down in the studio in the next few weeks. So if I'll see what I can do with it. What's it called again? Sorry.
It's called Sunshine on the Leaf by the Proclaimers.
Sunshine on the Leaf. Yeah, the Proclaimers had a few big hits back in the day.
Yeah.
They've been around for quite a while, have they not?
They're brilliant. Obviously, because I'm Scottish, it kind of, it pumps my blood.
Yeah. I'll tell you, you're talking about bands over the pond. I've always been a huge Rod Stewart fan. Always been a huge Rod Stewart fan, Faces fan, Rolling Stones fan, Beatles. Some of my favorite tunes to play, like Rod Stewart. I do various tunes by him.
Maggie May.
Trying to think of
Maggie
there's
May,
all
you do
kinds.
Maggie May.
What's that?
You do Maggie May, don't you? You done Maggie May, I think.
I do. Yeah, I've done Maggie May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done You're in My Heart. Reason to Believe. All kinds of really great tunes, right? They always go over well in any situation as well. So it's good. And then I do a bunch of Maritimer stuff. I am an Atlantic Canadian, right? So I do I try to do as much Canadian stuff. Blue Rodeo is one of my favorite bands. I don't know if you know Blue Rodeo.
No, I don't know them, but we're checking them out now.
Blue Rodeo, very, very famous Canadian band. They're actually famous worldwide as well, but more so in Canada. A great band. If you just type in Blue Rodeo into my channel there, and there's probably half a dozen at least songs from them.
Oh,
right?
brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. So do you play in a circle with your buddies? You guys all get together and jam it out, or what?
I tend to play on my own, but we have a group online where I'll tag you in it so you can get to see it, where we all sort of play guitars and we post little videos of ourselves. You know, it's there to boost everyone's confidence. You know, Marty, it's a way of complimenting each other, and
Sure.
it's brave. It's really brave of these guys to come on because you know we're not all gifted singers, we're not all gifted guitarists, and this is a
Absolutely.
group that we can all sit and chat and play a bit of music, and we can share off each other, and not just that, you learn great tricks. The best thing about guitar is you're always learning and you learn off other people.
Absolutely. You know what? You hit the nail on the head, man. You know what? And what I always tell people too, and I've played with some guys. Obviously, I've played with some guys that are, classically trained, awesome guitarists. They all have one thing in common. They all love to have fun. They all enjoy playing music. So what I always say, if you're in a room full of guys that are novices, or you're in a room full of guys that are professionals, or you're in a room with a mix of both, I always say, boys, leave your ego at the door, man. We're just here to have some fun, right? Let's here to learn
Exactly.
from each other. Let's drink it all in. You know what I mean? Let's have some fun. And I love sitting down. I mean, I love playing and I love singing and I love entertaining and I love doing all that stuff too. But I also love sitting down and listening. I love sitting down and listening or watching somebody else do their thing, playing or
I do.
singing along, jumping in. I love all aspects of that type of situation, right? But I always say, leave your egos at the door. There's some people that I play with over the years want to be the best, and that's great. That's great in that venue. You go right ahead, but for what we do or what I do, I want everybody learning. I want everybody to, like you say, lots of confidence, right? You want to be learning, you want to be feeding off of one another. And at the end of the day, man, when you guys put together 3 or 4 really good tunes that were a lot better at 10 o'clock at night when you're ready to shut things down than they were at 6 o'clock in the afternoon when you started or
Yeah.
whatever, like that's a pretty special moment, man, when you guys can sit around and you take that song home. Maybe you teach your kid, maybe you play together. Maybe you're playing, your wife's walking by and hears it and says, geez, that sounded better than it did yesterday. You know what I mean? It gets a little better every time.
It does.
The only thing I can tell people, there's two tips that I give everybody. And I'm not much, I don't teach anymore. I do a couple of special favors for people, but a lot of the times I'm just too busy. But I always say one thing is, guitar is no good if it's in the box under your bed, right? It
Yes.
doesn't, and now if you get a $3,000 guitar, you have to put it in its case when you're not playing it. But if most of us have that $300 or $400 or guitar kicking around that you can put in a stand, and that way when you're sitting there in your favorite chair, commercial comes on or something comes on that piques your interest, you can just reach over and pick it up. It's a huge piece of advice I like to give, and I want you to give that to people as well.
I
That's
will.
one thing.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's very cheap. It's $12 to buy a guitar stand, right? 12 to $15 to buy a guitar stand. Number two, a guitar always sounds better, even to the beginner. A guitar always sounds better if you have a tuner, right? A lot of times
Yeah.
people try to play guitar and it's out of tune and it just sounds like crap, right? So you know what? If you can try to keep it in relative tune just by buying a $20 tuner, that's always a great idea. And the third thing is play as often as you can. That's all I can say, because every time you play, believe it or not, you get a little tiny bit better every time. Every hour you put in, I find the chord changes get a little easier.
Yeah.
And where you're talking about guys that are just starting out and stuff. First of all, I mean, people love picking it up anyway. And as soon as you put 3 chords together and they sound half decent, to me, you're addicted, right? So just
Yep.
keep playing as much as you can. That's the third piece of advice that I would give to anybody out there. I hope those make sense to you.
They do, yeah, it's great. I mean, the love of music and just pick up and go for it. And it is great to have because I've got my guitar in a stand and it's always there. I've got one
Mhm.
upstairs, one downstairs, and they're not in boxes. They sit there because they're to be played. I want to play them. And sometimes, like you say, I'll just be sitting there, Marty, and I'll think, oh, do you know what? I think I'll have a little jam on my guitar just randomly. And then before I know it, I've
Sure.
spent 2 hours. I've spent 2 hours just playing about 10 different songs.
Absolutely. And sometimes that's the best thing. You know what I mean? If you don't plan it, you just kind of pick it up and start going. Next thing, I call it floating away, right? Like I'll often sit down there and I'll just start floating away, not really thinking about anything. Just pick it up and start playing. And those moments don't come enough as far as I'm concerned, but I love them when they do.
Yeah, they're special. Marty, could I ask you advice? One of the things that keeps popping up in our group is when should you change your strings and how would you know when should you really change your strings in your guitar? How often would you say?
I'm a fan of strings that aren't like right out of the box new, like maybe a week or two old, once they get broken in, right?
Yeah.
It all depends on how much you're playing. Really, really, it does. Like if you're putting in 2-3 hours a day, right, on your guitar, you can start to feel your strings. They kind of get a little bit sticky and a little bit grimy, a little bit dirty. They're not as bronzy looking as they were when the right out. You know how they're shiny right out of the package.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once they start getting a little bronzy. But if you're putting in, say 10 hours a week, I would say probably, for a beginner or a novice, I would say probably a month, month and a half, right? You can get away with longer. I've got guitars that have strings on them for 6 months because I only play them. They only come out of their case for shows and stuff like that, right? But the ones like my beaters, the ones that I'm out on, I generally try to change the strings once a month and a half type thing. But again, I like strings that aren't right out of the box, but I also like them a couple of weeks old, and then I'll play them for a month, and then I'll put a new set on type thing. I know I'm not really answering your question, but I think you're okay for a beginner. For a novice guy, say 10 hours a week, like you say, month and a half, even 2 months. You could even stretch it to 3. It all depends on the feel. Like once the action on those strings start getting harder to press down, it's time to make the decision then, if you know what I mean, right? They're always more bendy. They're always more bendy when they're new type thing, and then when they start getting grimy and a little dark looking and stuff, and maybe you're not hitting that note clear, maybe it's time to snap them on, right?
Snapping new ones on. I love it. I love the feeling of when I've got new strings on my. I love that. I love the feeling of me breaking them in. I love the fact that I'm breaking these strings in, and I know that
absolutely
it feels so good.
Oh yeah. So what I'll do when I'll string up an instrument, I'll actually, I won't even, as soon as I string them up, I won't even really bring them into tune. I'll just kind of bang on them for 10 or 15 seconds just to kind of stretch them out a little bit, and then I'll tune them in. I find as soon as you put them on there and you don't kind of stretch them out even for 15, 20 seconds, I find they fall out of tune really quick if you just try to tune it up right away. So I always try to bang on them, put a little vibration on them just to get them going, right? And then I kind of bring them in. I find that works for me. It's just a preference. Nobody ever taught me that. It's just something that I've always done, right?
Yeah, you pick things up yourself, don't you? And you know the feel of your own guitar. You know that because it's your guitar, you know how your guitar feels and how it should sound better than anyone else.
Absolutely. And you know what? Like I say, the longer you have them, the more memories kind of you end up hanging on them too, right? You know what I mean? Like I remember, I still look at my old Yamaha 12 string I've owned. I walked into a music shop. I'm 49 years old now. I walked into a music shop, I think I was 20, so it's 29 years old, this guitar, and it was hanging on a used rack. And I remember now, this is Canadian prices, it was $199. I'm not kidding you. $199 for a low-end Yamaha used guitar. Never had a scratch on it. I was in buying a case of strings, and I just kind of happened to walk by it. I strummed it one time. I'll never forget. It was a G chord. I strummed a G chord. And I let it ring through. I think it rang for about 16 seconds, and I went, "Yeah, I'm taking this home." So I walked up to the counter, and I said,
"Yeah, I'm up in that."
I said, "This is a great deal." I said, "This is a great deal, $199." He said, "Yeah, you haven't heard the half of it." He said, "It comes with a hard shell case." I was like, "What?
Yes.
Yeah, I know." I said, "Is there something wrong with it?" He said, "No, man, there's nothing wrong with it. It's the low end Yamaha 12 string." And do you know what? I still pull that out today, 30 years later, and I still love that guitar. And I paid $199 for it 30 years ago. That's
amazing.
That's
absolutely
something.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I tend to tell guys, look, I had showed videos to people of me taking old guitars, just like, just cheap guitars, and saying, no, you don't have to spend thousands of pounds or hundreds of pounds. Here's a guitar, do this, and here's some strings on it, and listen, that guitar's just as good as any other guitar, and
absolutely.
It's just about enjoying doing it. And I always say to guys, people that say to me, "Oh, I get sore fingers." I say, "Of course you're gonna get sore fingers. Go with the flow." I used to use vinegar. I didn't like. I should dip my hands in vinegar.
You gotta fight through that, and if you can, I'll tell you. Like, I haven't been able to feel my fingertips in probably 30 years. They're all yellow looking, right? But that's just cost of doing business, right? It's definitely worth the pain. There's no question. But you are going down a lot of the right roads. You're giving a lot of good advice, like especially with that one. I've got guitars that are well more expensive than that Yamaha I told you about, that and that Gibson you named earlier, for instance, right? Which is obviously my favorite, probably one of the most beautiful guitars I've ever played in my hand.
Beautiful I've ever seen. Absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I waited a long time for that one. I got that guitar actually. I bought that off of a guy. He's a folk musician by the name of Dave Gunning. He's won many awards. He's also an Atlantic Canadian musician, right? So him and I become good friends over that guitar. So it's a pretty cool story as well. But you know what? You're going down the right road, telling your friends there. You don't have to lay out a bunch of cash for a guitar. You know what? For me, just grab something that's going to be suffice. You know what I mean? Grab something that's
Yeah.
going to just help you learn and help you fall in love with the instrument, right? And you know what? If you decide you want to dive in and really start learning, then that's when you make the next step. Buy the medium one or buy the more expensive one or whatever, right? But I own, like I still told you, I own 16 stringed instruments, and I would say a dozen of those are well under $1,000. You know, like some of them are 200, some of them are 300, some of them are 400, and that's a third. That's almost a 40-year collection as well, right?
Yeah.
So but and I love them all for different reasons. I mean, some certain guitars have different sounds, right? Another thing too is cool when you're picking them out. If you go into your local music shop, spend the time. A lot of people are in the rush. It's okay, I'll take that one, or I'll take this one. Go in there, sit down, and play a dozen of them. Do you know what I mean? And if you're really novice at it, the guys working there are foaming at the mouth to help you out. A lot of these music guys are really good guys. I know music stores can be intimidating for guys just starting out, but it is an intimidation that's a lot of time it's definitely misspelled. Like, these guys are there to help you, or these girls for that matter, who's ever working in those stores. But I'll tell you, everybody has a common love, and it's a common love for music. So whether they're playing it or whether they're working in the store or whatever, they're to, in my experience, now, I can't speak for everybody. I know it's a generalization, but in my experience, all these music shops have really, 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 really great resources working there to help out somebody who
Yeah.
might feel intimidated or new. But you know what? Take the afternoon, I say. Take the afternoon, take 2 or 3 hours, whatever you have. Go in, sit down, and play 10 or 12 of them. And I guarantee you there's a diamond in the rough there for a few $100, right? You'll always find something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you'll
it
always
comes,
find something. Yeah.
and you suddenly feel more, because you took the time, it becomes more personal to you, Marty. It suddenly becomes, this guitar stood out to me and makes it personal.
Absolutely.
You've sat with 5 or 6 guitars and tried another couple, and one's just caught your eye, and you sit there and you think, wow, I like this. You get
Yep.
it, and suddenly it's that little bit more important to you, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny, for copyright reasons. I won't get into name brands and stuff, but I'll tell you, I
No.
went in with cash in pocket to buy a real high end instrument, and I had been thinking about buying this instrument for quite a while, and then when I was finally in a position to, I sat in there and I played it, and then I played its brother, and then I played its sister, all ones that were comparable, and none of them compared to the one I ended up settling on. Right, so it's funny. Name brand is one thing, but it's got to pick you. It's almost like a Harry Potter syndrome, right? The one picks you. It's kind of the same thing with a guitar. You pick it up, it either feels good or it doesn't. It sounds good to you or it doesn't. The only thing that you can do is go in there and just take the time and pick the one that you want. So yeah, that's the only advice I can give you with as far as that goes. But I wouldn't go break the bank until you fall in love. If you fall in love, then the sky's the limit, right? You buy whatever you
Absolutely.
buy whatever you think is going to work for you. But you know, it doesn't take a $10,000 guitar to fall in love. I tell you, I guarantee you can do it on a $100 or $200 for sure. Or even go to a pawn shop and pick one up off the wall for if that's all you can afford. I guarantee you it'll do the work it needs to do. If you're going to fall in love, you'll fall in love with whatever guitar is in your hand, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I went to a second-hand shop and found an old Martin. I couldn't believe it. It was in a terrible state.
Yep.
And that's now my pride and joy. And it's not the best Martin in the world. I don't even know, it's about pre-70s around then.
Yeah.
And I think it was actually a Sigma. I think it was Sigma was made by Martin or something at the time. But it's a really old guitar, and it cost me 30 quid, $30.
Wow, I was in that something. Wow, that's amazing.
And I would never let go of it. I would
No,
never let go of
my
that
gosh.
guitar.
No, and you remember the day you went in and found it, right? Or it found you. You know what I mean?
It called my name. This is going to sound so sad, but I walk past that shop all the time, and it's full of granny's clothes and books, and it just in the window, and I walked past, and it called my name.
Oh
And
yeah,
I went in,
absolutely.
and I just thought, give this a clean up. It was a wee diamond in the rough. Cleaned it up,
Yeah.
gave it a bit of oil treatment, treated the neck and that, put some new strings on it, put some bone into it. Oh, and now it's one of the best guitars. I love it. I'll never get rid of it, Marty. Never.
No, man, no, and it's got a great name in Marty too, eh? I own a couple of Martins myself. I own the little baby Martin, the Ed Sheeran Martin. I own one of those, and I'll tell you, that thing, pound for pound, that thing plays some nice. And I also own like a mid-range Martin there that my young fella took interest in. So I walked it in the door, I remember, and I said, geez, Josh, I picked this up for a pretty good price. And then I sat it down, and I think I played it for 10 minutes. He said, geez, Dad, I like that. And it's been his bedroom ever since. That was about 8 months ago. Little bugger. And he's got my Fender Strat hanging on the wall in there, too. So I don't know if I'll ever get that one back.
Kids do.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As long as they're playing, my daughter, actually, I bought a set of drums there a while back. And when I was a kid, I was a drummer. So I just thought it'd be a nice addition to the studio. Sure enough, I come home one day there and I hear her banging away on them down there. Taught her the basic rock beat, and she can actually sit in now with anybody she wants. So music is all around us, man. It's a musical house where I'm from, and I'm very, very thankful for it. Right, my kids are taking a liking. My wife sings like an angel. It's that's what we do. You know what I mean? We're not video people. We're not. We'll sit on the deck and have a few drinks, and the next thing you know, the guitars come out. That's kind of how we roll, right?
That's how it should be. That is exactly how it should be, Matty. That's the whole
Yeah.
point of a guitar. Just to pull
Absolutely.
it out and it's like, it brings people together. People don't realize. I always call it my family glue. I say my guitar's my family glue because I pull it out and it pulls us all together. My stick.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? I always make the joke there. If you remember that Field of Dreams movie there, he says, "If you build it, they will come." I always tell my buddies when we pull them out on the deck, I said, you know what, man, if you play it, they'll come. And sure enough, next thing you know, neighbors start coming. We all have a good sing along, right? It's not, and there's no showmanship with it. It's just we're sitting down playing music, and if you want to come over and enjoy it and sing along and play along, then you're more than welcome. I do not say, okay, no, this is the stage and you stay away. I pride myself on saying anything goes at my shows, right? So if you want to come up, I had a gal with a trumpet sit in. I was playing acoustic guitar one night. This is a true story. Acoustic guitar one night there in a pretty fun pub. Place was packed, and there was a big table full of people celebrating some kind of an anniversary or a retirement party or something. And the guy running the party came over to me and said, listen, man, I've got my daughter here. She wants to get on stage with you and play. And I said, okay, right on. What does she play? And he looked at me. And when she plays trumpet, and I thought to myself, Jesus,
Here we go.
I said, how am I going to put together some kind of an arrangement where an acoustic guitar and a trumpet sound good together? Sure enough, we get on stage, and I said, you know what? Okay, because it was a party and I didn't want to disappoint, I said, yeah, bring her on up. So anyway, she comes up, she pulls out this shiny trumpet. I say, let's do something easy. I said to myself, you know what? I'll play a 3-chord song. So I played Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl. Everybody knows that song.
Yeah.
Right? I play Brown Eyed Girl. So I get to the chorus, I go, you're my brown-eyed girl. And then she goes, pom, 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 in perfect time, in perfect tune, right? It was awesome.
Oh,
it
wow.
was awesome. Next thing you know, I looked at her and I said, you've been playing a while? She said, yeah, I've been a teacher of horns for 30 years at the Conservatory of Music. So we ended up doing, listen, we did that set, probably a dozen songs, and I was just playing and she was just blowing behind me. It was awesome, right? She sounded really, really good. People started coming in who weren't at the party saying, Jesus, when did you pick her up? She's really making you sound good, Marty. So we played that set, and then I asked her to come up and finish the night on the third set. So it all worked out, man. Yeah, you never know. You never know who's got talent, right? So it's a cool story.
You never know who's going to turn up. You never know what you're going to do,
Oddly enough, about 10 years later, this was probably a couple of years ago now, I was on a road trip with my son because he plays hockey. And one of the dads there plays in the Hoppin' Penguins as a horn player. So it kind of brought back memories. So he brought his baby horn on the road, and I brought my guitar. So it was the same thing all over again 10 years later because he was every bit as good as her. He's been playing the horn for 50 years. So, yeah, it's kind of an odd combination, but it worked out twice in my life. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is unbelievable. I'd
Yeah.
like to have seen that. I would love to. It would have sounded good as well.
Well, that's the thing, and you know what? It's funny. You don't think to roll the recorder when it just kind of happens, right? Kind of falls out of your pocket. You just start playing, and away you go. And then you're laying in bed at night thinking, "Jesus, that sounded pretty good." Too bad I never got that on tape, right? You know. But,
You got
there's many of those. I could probably tell you 1,000 of those, buddy, if I thought about it.
Well, look, Marty, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I'm so glad you came on the podcast. You're an inspiration to a lot of us, and I'm speaking for myself and a lot of people I know. Thank you for your time, your patience, and just thank you for helping us along and giving us the joy of music, because without you, we wouldn't have it.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Thank you for all your compliments. You guys have been really, really great to me. And you know what? It's my pleasure. It's definitely my pleasure. From the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you guys enough for out there watching. And, to hear you guys are out there learning, you girls for that matter, guys, old and young, it really, really touches me. It really does. And this is not an act, man. This is the way I am. I love music, and I love being able to give music to other people. And then I love those other people giving music to somebody else. So, you know what? If there's going on in this world right now, I'll tell you one thing: music isn't that. Music is a beautiful thing, and it's one of those things that will stay with you forever. You can play your whole lifetime. You can give to your children. You can give to your friends, and it's a passion of mine. I'm pretty sure you know that by now. Anyway, I really appreciate having you on your show, man, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again.
Definitely. Take care, Marty, and thank you very much for coming on. Oh, Marty.
Nope. Yes.
Before you go, is there any song you'd like me to play?
Is there any song? Oh yeah, you're gonna play me out, are you?
I'll play a song for you. Any song you want.
Right on. Play Brown Eyed Girl for me, man.
I certainly will. I'm Dennis Devlin. This is the NMF podcast. We were talking to Marty, and you can find him on YouTube. I'll send a link in the podcast. And of course, this is the song for Marty.
Hey folks, Marty here, Easy Guitar Tunes. I've got a really fun party tune for you guys. It's an oldie, but really it's a goodie. It's called I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. Really, really great tune. I love playing this one every chance I get. You know what, I kind of forgot about it, and then somebody requested it, and then we got requested again and again, and I thought, you know what, let's get this song up. So it's a good song. Kind of simplified it there a little bit, but you know what, for the most part, it came out really well. I also had a slap strum to it as well. You'll see there when I show you, and you can go into the chord link there in my chord info, and you can click on the slap strum to give you an idea. It's just more like a muted strum, kind of gives it a drum beat feel. First chord is D. There's a G. There's an A. There's a C. And then in a bridge, there's an F. There's an A7, which is basically just A without the middle finger. So I actually play A with 2 fingers. My fingers are big enough that I can cover 3 strings. So all I do is kind of spread them out and leave that middle string in the A chord free. A7. There's also a B minor in it, which is a full bar on the 2nd fret. And then your 2nd string is on the 2nd string from the bottom in the 3rd fret. And then the 3rd string and 4th string from the bottom are your baby and your 3rd finger handle on that. And again, if you need any chord help, just go into my info section there. There's a link for chord help there. You can click on that. Click on any key you like. So basically the strum pattern, I kind of give it a slap strum. So it's... And the slap strum is totally optional. I can see all obstacles in my way. So that would be like a basic up down with a slap strum, and then what I do, I kind of give it a couple extra little. So sometimes you'll see me go. All that is a couple extra. But that's totally on feel. That is nothing, that's just kind of what I do. I explain it, I don't even know if I'm going to do it, but I explain it because you'll probably hear me do that in this particular song, and I wanted to explain to you what it was. So practice those chords, and then find a strum that you like, either with or without the slap strum, and again, there's a link there for slap strum if you need some help, and then join us for the song. This is a really fun tune to play. You should really add this one to your repertoire, so let's give this one a go. I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that have me blind. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now, all the pain is gone. All of those bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow now I'm praying for. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue sky. Look straight ahead, ain't nothing but blue sky. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone all the dark clouds that made me blind. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. A bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, oh bright, sunshiny day. There you go. Great tune by Johnny Nash called I Can See Clearly Now. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. That's a tune, too, that you can run on, go over the verses. I played this song for 10, 15 minutes sometimes if people are up dancing. And you just kind of keep going through the verses there and go through the chorus because people love to dance and sing to this song. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you like what you see, definitely give me a thumbs up. Get over to my channel there. I've got all kinds of cool things going on, and I love hearing from you guys. Love the comments, all the love, you guys. God love you. It's wonderful. The support has just been wonderful. So thank you for everything from Party Marty. Definitely go over to my channel, have a look around, tell your friends about it, subscribe to it as well, so you get a video you get a little email every time I put a video up. And take care from Party Marty. Keep on strumming, have some fun. Bye now.